Oh man, I love that song. It always gets me going, guys. I am so excited. First off, if it's your first time, welcome to the community. We are so excited that you're here today. We are a growth, coaching, training, courses, everything support at eXp Realty organization that you can possibly imagine. If you don't know about eXp, it's the best brokerage on the planet because it puts agents back at the center of the brokerage model. It's amazing. Thank you for being here today. We really appreciate it. And we have a special guest today who's going to be rolling out an actual strategy that he's using to set an appointment every single day. Yo, I want you to hear that. He's setting an appointment every day. He's not creating a lead. There's a difference between creating a lead every day and getting an appointment every day. That's way further down the funnel. And so when I was talking with Scott about this, he's one of our top leaders, an amazing coach, like coached all over the world, built brokerages before. Now he's at eXp and he's blowing it up. And I will tell you, he was telling me like, oh, I've got this whole system and it's dialed in. And I said, like, listen, we got to hear about this. And he said, I want to tell people about it. So that's the heart of the kind of leader that we have around here. People who want to contribute, people who want to share. And I couldn't be more thrilled and honored to welcome Scott Gephart to the stage here with the community. Scott, thanks for being here, brother.
You bet. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for mostly lies, but we'll hopefully back up some of it.
Awesome.
Anyways, hope you guys are all doing good this morning. Just wanted to jump on and kind of go through kind of what I've been doing lately. It's something that I've been doing for a lot of years, actually. I've been in the business for actually 20 years licensed, but I was with RE/MAX in 2004. And this is kind of where this started. Had some real estate experience before that in title and lending, but anyway, so I joined RE/MAX in 2004, went in and I didn't know anybody. I moved to Southern Oregon right like then. So I knew nobody. And I'm like, well, the only way I can get leads that I know of, since I don't know anybody, is to try to get some online leads. Facebook really wasn't a thing. It was just more online leads. It was the old school, like tower ads that would show up on a Google page, something like that. And so I started doing that and started putting out ads on Google and just doing tower ads. And then it was like, you could do unbranded ads, which worked really, really well. I wish I could still do that. Not really can. So you put unbranded ads like, hey, get a list of foreclosure properties or things like that. Just the total ones that I hate now, that gets really the lowest of the barrel of leads, which we'll get into my thought on good leads, bad leads in a minute. But it's just a number that stuck in my head still to this day, because I put out campaigns, went in, I hired an assistant the first month, which was probably the dumbest thing I could have done, but it worked out really well because I needed it. I just wanted to like go in strong. And so anyways, did these ads. The first month, I remember it exactly like it was yesterday. The first 19 calls I followed up on out of probably 100 leads that I brought in got me so busy that I needed help. And it sounds crazy. Like that's not even something that's fathomable now, but then that it worked, right? There wasn't a lot of people doing that. So I started building a team basically immediately, just because I accidentally figured something out to create a ton of lead volume coming in that I couldn't handle for buyer leads. So I actually started building a team at RE/MAX. Anyway, I was there for 3 years. I always remember thinking, like, wondering what everybody else was doing, like to be so successful and all the secrets to everything. And there, I love RE/MAX, I do, and it was great, but it was very different. It was definitely in the days where there wasn't a lot of sharing going on in the office. There wasn't a lot of sharing going on telling me what to do. And so then I loved it because I was always asking questions, didn't really get too many answers on something that would help me. But I know I left in 3 years. It was like the very day I could get my principal broker's license and start my own company, I did. And I remember then having a lot of people asking me what I was doing. And I loved that. So it's like, okay. And that's kind of more my thought process. So anyways, we went and started another company. But at that point, I had 2 offices in RE/MAX and 6 to 8 team members and whatnot. And it was all based on lead gen. I know, there's a lot of different ways to get business. Is this the best one? Probably not. It works for me. I think anybody who has an unbelievable sphere and tight group and can survive and live and keep adding and growing that way absolutely is the base of this business. But to me, It was always about people leaving, people going. It's like my goal and the thing that I had fun doing was always adding to that audience. And I always call it an audience. I think I got this from, I don't know who, but I always call my database an audience because it reminds me of what I'm supposed to be doing with it. Because I'm supposed to be doing something in front of it, up on a stage, singing in front of it, reaching out to it, doing something, or they're going to leave. Just like if you go to a concert and they don't do anything, you're out of there, right? So it's like that's what happens with our databases. So anyways, ended up going, well, just to get on the subject of good leads, bad leads. I am a big proponent of there is no such thing as a bad lead. And I know that's in our industry. If we get on these, masterminds, which I think is a bad word for it, with hundreds of thousands of realtors, and they're complaining a lot about how all the leads are horrible. And that's not the case. It's just, and you guys, I mean, there's some of you guys on here are doing this at a high level, higher than me. So I understand that, and some people maybe aren't, but just a lot of this is my opinion. There's lots of different ways to do it. But I think, there's the funnel and the cycle process of a lead. And so if you're getting brand new internet leads, most of them, the majority of them, 95% of them are going to be somebody who's just starting to look. They're just clicking on your ad and they're just starting that process. So that, I believe, you have to treat them all like they're eventually deals. I don't care who they are or what they are. And I've done this a lot, like when I used to train just my office, and we'd come in on a Saturday and we'd do all kinds of lead generation techniques and tools. And it was just the toughest thing to get people to believe that you could get business from anybody. And I don't know if JJ's on here, but I used to always joke with him. I'm like, you go point out a person in this plan. I don't care if it's the guy down the street asking for change. I'll go get a deal out of it, because he knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who I can get a deal out of it. So I just don't think it's just it's a mindset. And I've always had that mindset, always had that belief. But, it's all about, so what I do is I have CRM. My CRM is KV Core, probably just like a lot of you guys. I've tried them all, I feel like, and used different ones. I think KV Core is one of the best. I think there's some others that actually could probably beat it out a little bit, but I continue to use it because I want to keep it in line with our group and our community and what everybody else is using. But I have probably a little over 10,000 people in my database. So I think this whole lead generation philosophy comes down to how you follow up and how you have everybody structured in your database. So we can get into that as well. But back on the good lead, bad leads, it's like I put everybody in my system and categorize them correctly as to when they're going to do any business. And I do it a little bit differently. I do a thing called an A buyer lead. It keeps it simple, A, B, C, D. It's A is my hot buyers that are, maybe next 30 days. Then I have a B, which is like a 30 to 90 days. Then I have a C, 90 to 6 months, and so on. Then 6 months to like a year and a half. And then I set them up on campaigns and reach out as needed, right? And in particular, wherever they are at in that funnel process. So you're talking about the right things to the right people. I think that the biggest part of it, like with what I'm doing now that we'll get into, is the follow-up. It is the follow-up 100%. And that's something that I've struggled with my whole career, because I've been able to bring in more lead generation. The amount of business that I should have done is unbelievably depressing sometimes, because I've had teams where, Jeff kind of mentioned, but at one point we had about 20 brokers. We were an individual broker here in Southern Oregon, and we were number one in listing volume, and we were number one in closed sales per agent. Like we had the highest dollar made per agent in Southern Oregon. And at one time, to my own horn, is I was the top listing broker out of 1,400 people or something like that. So we took a lot of listings, and our company did a lot of business and had really, really great brokers. But see, where was I going with that? I'll do that about 10 times today, by the way. I get off track. But anyways, it was about the lead gen side of it has always been something that I've lived off of and brought in, and everybody else in our group did as well. Hold on a second here. Does anybody have any questions and like where we want to go with this? Because I have a lot of different stuff to say.
Well, this is getting me excited, Scott, because anytime somebody says to me, I've had the highest per agent productivity, that tells me a lot, right? Like that's one of the things that we thrive on here in the community is getting every single agent to perform at the highest level. And this is something I know about you and your heart, which is helping other people and also just crushing it in the marketplace. But the reality is most agents have a lead gen problem in their business. Let's be honest. That's why the average production per real estate agent in the country is like 7 or 8 transactions, depending on what month you look at the NAR surveys, right? And 7 or 8 deals per year, not per month. I wish. That'd be amazing for the agents out there. 7 or 8 deals per year, though, and I look at somebody like Scott who's able to do that per month, and that's a way different strategy. So I'm just optimistic that everybody here is going to have some key takeaways about how they can positively impact their business. Because let's be honest, guys, how many people would be not how many of you would be thrilled if you walked away from today knowing how to put 1 extra deal a month, not a day, a month together? That's 12 deals a year times whatever, $10,000. That's 120 grand, right? I hope you guys realize this is big value. So anyway, I just wanted to cheer you on, Scott. Keep going, brother.
Hey, Scott, real quick too. I mean, when you get to, I know you're going to, but I obviously I have the luxury of being ringside on watching your lead gen, and which is phenomenal. And I still don't know how the hell you do it. So that's the part that I want to see is like, well, what does the ad look like? How do you freaking do it for those of us that are not? And then the other thing is a nugget for me already is just when you were talking about the audience, and I've heard you say it. I just haven't really paid attention until just now on why. And it made me, like you said, when you said the concert thing, that was a really good example, because I'm thinking, am I performing to a bunch of people at once, or am I doing a bunch of solo performances? I'm doing solo performances. I'm like, I'll get to you and do a 2-hour concert with you and later on in the day. Doesn't make any freaking sense. So that was already a nugget, but yeah.
Well, something to say on just like the lead, real quick on KV Core. How many people are using KV Core? I'm not sure, but let me do a little screen share.
Actually, hit us up in the chat. If you're using KV Core in your business, you're already with us, you're at EXP, so you get that for free. Like if you're using KV Core, like Scott is, like I am, hit us up, put a yes or a me. Looks like Jason, Jessica, Scott, Jeff, Jeremy, Cassie Lynn, Michelle, Elena. This is awesome. Joe Yates. Yeah. So Mackenzie, got a lot of people who are using it, Scott.
All right. Can you guys see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just put on a person, just like to go over something. I mean, we'll get to like what the ads look like, how I do it. I use basically right now, I have done Google a lot in the past. I'm not really doing a lot of Google right now, even though I'd like to add it. And the only reason I'm not adding it is because I honestly have a hard time handling the lead gen that I have coming in right now. And so there's a lot of different things. And I feel like in my career, I feel like I have probably about 20 different lead sources that I use. And I'm talking about from, all the things we know, for sale by owners, expired, like all those different things, open house processes. My biggest thing that I've liked to do is I feel like I like to do them correctly, or at least my way, what I call correctly. It's like, even if you're doing an open house, there's a way to do an open house. And at one point I wrote an 8-page detailed exactly how to do an open house the right way, and make sure you come back with, to me, the most important part is clients, names, how you can, and then with emails and how you can get a hold of them and start a conversation. Because I know I'll give an example of another company that I was with and helping, and they would have massive open houses. And a lot of people say, oh, those don't work. They definitely work. They're actually a listing tool, one of the best listing tools you can get if you do it correctly. But they would have a meeting every week, and they would talk about how many open houses they had, and they would have lots of people, 10, 20 people through these open houses, each of them 10 or 20 agents. But then it was like, well, how many people did you add to your database? And that was pathetically bad compared to that. Like all those people are eventually deals. So it's about how you put them into your data bank, I call it a lot of times. And I know other people have used that term, because it is, everybody you put in there is a dollar volume. I use a company called Street Text for the Facebook ads I use now. I've shared that with a lot of people. I've been using it for years. I used to do the Facebook ads all myself, but it's gotten so complicated and crazy that I just I don't have the time to put into doing it that way anymore. But I do, let's see here. I'm gonna put this over here so that, there we go.
And just so everyone knows, we put the links to these in the chat as they come along. So Street Text is in there if you want to go check
Is
that
that
out at
still
some point.
sharing the right screen, or is now sharing my other screen on the ad?
No, it looks good. We can see Mark and Diana.
Okay, perfect. Anyways, so, I do a lot of Facebook marketing, and I'll show you guys some of the ads, but this is, a client that came in, and I'll just give you an idea of like what I do with it. This person is an active lead up at the top because they've came in and done something. They've responded to something that we've done, right? But when they come in, this Mark and Diana, I had full info, I believe, let me see. Yeah, they came in with full information. So they had emails, phone numbers, the address. This was a seller lead, as it says. I tag things in a weird way where I put it in as a D audience, meaning that it's just, we haven't done any business with this person, but D audience is so I can actually send information out massively to everybody in this category. And then it's a street text seller, because street text is just the thing I use to get this lead. I put them in HomeBot. I'm not sure if you guys, I know some people on here use HomeBot for evaluation. It's awesome. And I can actually show you guys that as well and take a look at it if you guys are interested. You can do it yourself, or you can partner with a lender. I don't partner with the lender anymore, but it's a really great way to do a home evaluation, because these ads that you're seeing on this one with Mark and Diana, it comes in from a home evaluation where I'm looking for sellers, right? That's it. I'm just looking for sellers. And all I need is an address, by the way, because a lot of these come in with address only. And I'll show you kind of how I go through that process. But I also then have, you'll see this name Howell. He is a ISA, VA, both, that I have helped me. An A seller lead means it's something that I think is fairly new. I will categorize things higher than they're supposed to be until I have a conversation with them also, because I don't know where they're at. I haven't talked to this person yet. So I put them high because I want it to be rated high as our callbacks, right? And we're going to keep on this person until we get a conversation going. And then if we can't, then we might put them in a lower category, a B or a C or something like that. This one, hot seller, and then I put ISA appointment, because this one actually, my ISA set an appointment. So that is why I'm going to backtrack now. That is why we have him as a seller lead and hot seller, because he is somebody that we talked to, and most likely even set an appointment if I look down. But I also do a lot of people, I don't know too many people that do this. It definitely takes some extra work on your part, but like here at the top, this note right here says HomeBot, and then it shows the current value that was given when it was sold. I go in and get a Zestimate, and the only reason is because the sellers know what their Zestimate is, and I want to know what they know, and so that's why I do that. This custom note most likely came from the multiple listing service, just so I have all the information in front of me, and I have it down to where when I do this myself, it takes me about 10 minutes. If it's a, if there's not a lot of information given, I just have custom notes. This is the county information. So I do a lot of work in advance of the call because I want to know my stuff. I want to know what I'm talking about when I call them. And this is different. I mean, to me, a lot of people I think would say, well, that's too much information, too much work for somebody you don't know you're going to have a client. To me, this is a seller. He owns a home. So that's money in the bank right there. If I can get a relationship, and he's communicating with me right now. So I really don't care if he sells today or in 5 years, because I have people that I've been doing this with for, obviously I've been doing this a long time. I have leads or deals coming on this year that I started 5 years ago because they own a home and they're finally ready to sell, but you got to stay in front of them. That's the key. That's the whole other part of it. So anyways, this is kind of how that looks. If you can see over here where it says Delta Valuation New Seller Lead, I think it's covered up. That's the campaign that I start right away. And so we hit it pretty hard in the beginning. Like the first day, they'll get a phone call, but I do the information gathering first, then phone call. then it will get an email and a text right after that says, hey, we see that you are looking for your home value. Thank you for your interest, because they clicked on an ad of ours. And then I say, is there anything about your home that could affect the value that you think that I should know, that could help me in this process? And that is the key to getting them to respond back, because everybody wants to get an accurate home evaluation. That's the reason they're on here. And so we get a lot of people, hitting us up back to tell us all about their house. And then our call then is just to talk about that, let them brag about their house and get it going and get an appointment set. So anyways, that's what a seller looks like. Let me see if I can.
Hey, Scott, really quickly, man. I love that. So you say, is there anything about your home that could affect your value that I should know? And to get you an accurate estimate. And what I love about that is you're prompting a response. That's just to start the conversation, right? Isn't that, that's your goal?
That's all it is. I just want a response, because I want to know they're real and it's good information and that I'm talking to the right person.
Yeah, that's
and all
awesome.
That. The other part of it real quick on that, and this is just my, regular KV Core, but everybody, and just back on this subject with KV Core, because your database is the key to all of this, right? You have to put somebody in there. You have to be able to follow them. Like this person, it shows I have a call today, my second call today at noon. All of these are new, so it's going to be a little different, but these are all categorized correctly. I mean, most of my 10,000 people in the system, believe it or not, are categorized correctly. That alone is a massive thing that I can tell you that 95% of realtors do not have organized, and you're losing business because of it. Because, well, first of all, since you guys all have KV Core, part of what we do on a daily basis, and I jump around all the time, you guys, so if I lose you, I'll come back to it, or tell me to come back to it, because I'm really good at jumping off on a subject and going that route. So this is just, just like you guys have your daily business with KV Core. And so what I do is on a daily basis, we call everybody or contact them. We try to call them that has looked at something, is new, any kind of activity. And as you can see, as you go down here, this is 12 hours ago, 13 hours ago, 15 hours ago, 17, 18, down to so there's there's 40 leads that already did something today. So it's believe me, these people are looking at things, a lot of different stuff. If you go in here, who knows, and I'm not sure this will work out good, might not be the way it's supposed to be. This is a newer lead. See, it does have a search alert over here, and they are actively searching. And this person is somebody I think that's new, and will probably get called today. But a lot of times too, is we'll have somebody that has been looking forever, or, there will be one that's, and I'm just trying to pick somebody that came in a long time ago. Okay, and if you see where my arrow is right now, this says 3120 Centurion. That is the ad they came in on. I can tell you right now, that is an old ad. So this has been in the system for a while, and they're on an alert. What I do too, and right or wrong, hope this doesn't get me in trouble, because they've asked for something, right? They're looking for something, and they're all asked. This is nothing to do with cold calling, by the way. Everything I'm talking about today is them asking for something and responding to a lead from us. But if it comes on when I do my ads, I will do, and we can get into that. I think that's a good part, because that's kind of where it starts. It kind of here's kind of a little bit of a show you what's up, and now how I choose an ad. What I do is, for me, I live in East Medford, my main area that I like. There's more sales in East Medford than anywhere else in Southern Oregon, really. So I want to get high traffic area. So I will pick a home that I want in that price range. If I don't have that listing, I will steal one of Jake's or anybody in our group, because we kind of have permission. I actually, 2 weeks ago, I called one of our competitors because they had a great listing with great photos. I look for things with really good photos, and that's hard because with internet ads, you got to have great photos. So I picked something that's maybe in the $400,000 to $700,000 range. And then if I don't have that listing on hand, I go get it. I ask somebody to borrow it. And our competitor said, yeah, no problem, of course, because he gets it. It's you're going to market my property, my seller. That's great. More eyeballs out there. So once I do that, though, I tag it to the ad, because when they come, say when the lead comes into us, and all the buyer leads will come in with names, emails, and phone numbers. I have it set up that way. They don't come in without contact information. So I automatically set them up for a market report, meaning, let's go back to, come on, don't be slow. Seller better. Hopefully this person has it. Yeah, this is a little one, but they okay, yeah, here, see, they're set up for a market report and they're getting them. So I set them up automatically per the lead, the listing that they liked and asked about. So then they start getting, you know, others in the area, and then they start using my site, because what my goal is to get them using my site instead of Zillow or wherever to get their information. And then we follow up with them on that, on the dashboard. And I'm sure you guys do this. This is, you know, but it's actually an easy way to get business and get conversations going, because they're already, and I have, you know, and I'm sure you guys have your KV course set up to where like if they view the same property 3 times, I'll get an email that tells me, hey, they're checking this out. Or if they send it to somebody, if they share it to somebody, we do something about it then too. The campaigns for sellers that come in that only have addresses, because we get a lot of those. A lot of people don't want to put their information in there. They put an address only. That's great. So that takes us a little bit more time, but we go get the information. I mean, there's lots of different programs you can use. I use Spokio just because I have a commercial version of it, so it's a little bit better. But anyways, we'll go and search. I search by address. So I'll search it in Spokio by address first, and then we'll get phone numbers, we'll get names. Well, for the names, I'll go back up a little bit. If it's in Jackson County, I get the names easy, right? Because you go to the county website, I get exactly who it is. So I have the name, I have the property. So then in Spokio, I look up property first because I have better luck with it. And then if I don't find something attached because it's too new of a transaction, then I'll look up by name. And then it's sometimes a guessing game. You got to play a little detective because there might be, you know, you get John Smith, good luck. But, you know, you can figure it out. You can see the clues. And then we contact them. And a lot of times we'll get that way. It'll be an old number. I'll cut and paste all of the information from Spokio. If it gives multiple numbers, we put it in there and we'll try one. If it doesn't work, we'll try the other one. And we keep doing it. If we don't get rid of it, because what we do is from the county, I will cut and paste their mailing address. I'll see if they're actually living in the house because that's their address on the county, or if it's somewhere else, we know they're out of area, then it's different. Then it may be a rental. You know, there's all these different things. It's like, I just like to have lots of information because then we work it accordingly. Let's put it that way, and divide them up into where they go. Let's see here. On buyers, it's really simple. You know, it's just you put them in, you contact them, you try to get them. And what happens also is, you know, you can put in 1 million. I don't really ever put really high-end ads out there because it's just, you know, a tiny market. But even though we put in maybe usually $500,000 to $700,000 or $500,000 to $800,000 houses, which is kind of higher, because even the people who are shopping for the 300 or the 200, trust me, they click on the $800,000 ad because they want to check that house out. They're just looking. But then when you get them, I mean, I can't tell you how many people, like, you know, once we talk to them, it's like, yeah, well, we're looking for something. I want to keep it in at 350. We're like, okay, you know, I'm not surprised. I mean, that's how most of them come in. So then we correct it, right? That's when we say, okay, great. Well, let's get the things coming your way per what you want. So then we're just fine tuning that. Then that's the opportunity where we are looking for a lender if they're not pre-approved. I always ask them, so are you guys paying cash? You know, and then they're like, oh no, you know, because it's not. I don't want to be offensive or think I know what their situation is just because they're looking at a $300,000 house. And so it's a better way. I don't know. I try to come at it that way because then they're like, oh no, I wish it was or whatever. And then they tell us, well, they haven't got pre-approved yet, and then we can start that process. So, anyways. I know this is kind of not exactly on how I get the leads, but we're going there. So anyways, that's kind of how I handle it once it's in there. They're all set up on different campaigns, depending on who they are. We are methodical now. I haven't been as good at it in the past sometimes, of hitting everybody in this database, and having them all on the correct plan and making the phone calls first. There's obviously they're getting a lot of texts. We're sending, when we're calling, we're dropping voicemails sometimes. A lot of different ways to talk to them and continue talking to them. Once just to give you a little numbers. So let's go back to the hype of the call or Jeff's ability to get people coming to listen to me by saying, so I'll give you the exact numbers. So for this year, so far, appointments set were 69 buyers appointments and 32 listing appointments set. But in there, just to be, totally upfront, those are not all sit down in front of them appointments. A lot of them are phone appointments, but there's somebody who wants to talk to me. I'll take it. That's perfect, right? And a lot of times, and I think this is a good thing, it's a patient thing, but a ton of those aren't ready to do something yet, but they're talking to me now, and now we're communicating, and now we're helping them. And I feel like my closing style is probably a little bit different. And when obviously it's very different than when I started doing this. My closing style is more, I guess casually, but deadly. It's because I'm confident. I want the ball, right? If there's a situation to be on the phone talking to with a buyer or seller, I always want to be the one doing it. And I feel like I'm the best at it, but I'm not just a salesy close it now guy, but I think Joe would agree with this, and Joe's one of the best sales guys on the planet. When they feel comfortable and they're trusting you, then you're an awesome salesman, because that's the whole key to this process, right? So it's all about being helpful. And I've had people that have worked for me or in the ISA role, and they were really hard closers trying to get the deals now. And we adjusted that to helping them where they're at. And it changed everything. It just changed everything. So now we get and I do have an ISA that helps me do this. And he's amazing. People love him. He makes friends. He talks too long. He doesn't make enough calls. And I say that I'm perfectly okay with that, because we make appointments, right? It's he'll get on a long conversation and he'll, just get this really good connection even before they get handed off to me. And so I have a layup, right? And so I'm okay with that. I'm all about numbers, but the numbers that are important to me are the appointments, not the amount of calls made. I could set a rule where hey, if you give me 2 appointments a day, you can make 2 phone calls a day if you want. I'll pay you the same. It's that might not be true. I'd kind of use, do a little bit more, but that's kind of the process. And we use it kind of like a concierge, especially for these sellers, because if they say I'm not ready to sell yet, we'll do what everybody else does. And if they say 6 months, I'll put 3, because that's probably what they're at. And then our whole goal and process is to let them tell us by asking the right questions why it is they're going to sell then, because they always give you a reason that you can solve, right? So we solve all those reasons, and all of a sudden they're selling now. And that's kind of the strategy, and that's how we do it. But adding value, a lot of it, they're getting ready to sell, and then we're helping them with everything you can imagine, from a carpet cleaner to a yard guy to a painter to somebody who can't handle something and they need some help. And I let them know. I always let them know, hey, I know I'm a real estate person, but I don't care what it is you need. We've been in the business for 20 years and we know everybody in the industries, and we can get you help. So whatever you need, use us like a concierge. Call us and ask us, and we'll let you know. Because then that's how you get really good relationships with lots of sellers for the future. So Hey,
Scott, real quick. I had a question on that, because you had said, first off, I love that you're building relationships and really focusing on finding people or meeting people where they are, I guess is kind of how you were saying that. But I noticed a minute ago, you said this concept of, they say I'm 6 months out, you market for 3. Are you always doing half, or are you always subtracting 3 months? Do you have a specific formula that you found is working best for you? Because I know that people always overestimate the amount of time out they are. And this is why agents tend to miss the opportunity window, right? It's I'm a year out, and you follow up in, 9 months and they're like, oh, I bought 3 months ago. You're like, dang it. What's your formula?
Actually, we kind of treat it like it's now a little bit. Like we almost treat them like they're all of them are now. Like we're giving them opportunities and we're touching base with them, quite a bit. Even though they say we're selling a year, I'm not calling them in a year. I'm not calling them in 6 months. We're calling them in a month, maybe 2 weeks. Like markets change, things change, information changes. So it's just a checkup. And I've heard something lately, and I actually agree with it. I think follow-up is the key to all of this, to tell you the truth. I mean, all these things people say about the gold is in the follow-up and all that. It's absolutely true. Because, you may get that 2 to 3% or 3 to 5%, I always say, of now leads when you're doing volume. Because right now, to do this, by the way, you guys, this is not the most lead gen I have coming in. I probably have close to 400 leads coming in a month. I've added over 1,000 easy. Like I can turn it up to whatever it needs to be. But like I'm not doing more than that right now because I really wouldn't be able to handle it. Well, I would be able to handle the now leads, but I would be blowing it on all the long-term follow-up leads, which is where most of the money is actually. So I think, if you want to turn, well, and just some other numbers right now, like our call percentage is like out of, and I don't even know what it is. I mean, it's like, I do know exactly what it is, like, but I'd have to look at it. I do have a system. I keep every number you can imagine. And our percentage per appointment is 12%. We get an appointment 12% of the time. So
is that on the first touch? Because I know the old metric that I remember at least was it's 8 touches to get an initial appointment with most people, which also, by the way, if you guys are like, I'm not getting appointments, it's probably because you're not following up. And you hear Scott keep saying follow up, but do you track that, Scott? Like, do you know, is this first everything. Call or is this like you and your guy are just hammering through numbers and are you tracking? Yeah, it sounds like you are.
A lot of this stuff is on the first, second calls.
Oh, that's awesome. 12%. That means your scripting is dialed. That's rad.
A lot of it, honestly, this has blown me away for doing this for a long time. And the little sweet spot we hit right now for getting appointments. And I think it is a lot about, and don't get me wrong, because I know there's guys on here that are like, and gals that are just like, set the appointment, really go hard, but they're also very good and thoughtful in hearing, what's coming from the client and going that direction. I'm definitely that guy. Like I'm more, I will close, but I'll hear it and see it and feel it, and I'll get the appointment. But I think you got to be really careful with what and even just the call. I don't know how many of you guys were on this call the other day with JJ and Joe, where they're talking about how JJ kept talking about it and tried to keep selling it when it was time to not say anything, and it was time to go a different direction. That's a big thing. Joe will know what I'm talking about. There's a really good friend of ours that used to be involved with us, and he would can keep selling something when it was done. I'm like, no, stop. You're there. All you're going to do at this point is damage the relationship. So, but I think, we're getting 12% from our overall calls. So, I mean, if we had, it's a high number though. That's a high number to get the appointments. But like I said, a lot of these are in a nurture. They're in a nurture stage, and this is. Okay, to say something else, we've done 101 actually is the number total appointments this year so far, and to make something even crazier, we're not calling on weekends. We're calling that's weekdays, which is not the best time. The weekends are the best time. So if I started adding somebody and we started doing it on weekends too, that rate would go up big time. I think the other thing is that those are set appointments. There's another number that I keep track of, and there's 188 of them that are not ready to talk to me, but are still wanting to but have set a timeline of when they're going to do business, right? Whether it's 6 months, a year, 3 months, whatever. If it's 3 months, I'm going to be really trying to get a hold of them. But they've talked to somebody, me or my ISA, and they do not want to, or not me actually, because if it was me, that would kind of be the appointment. But my ISA, he has 180, I think 8 of them that are wanting to do something, but they're not ready to sit and talk about it yet with me live or an appointment. So that's an amazing number. That's like, I'm not counting those as appointments. Appointments are only if it's live or a phone consultation set up for another day where we're meeting, getting together and going over the game plan to get it done. So the amount of business, I mean, and I honestly, I try to not focus. The only number I try not to focus on is what the dollar amount of all that is, but I guarantee that's ridiculously crazy numbers. Even if I blow it and poorly close all those, it's going to be really good. And it is. And
hey, Scott, I just ran the numbers, by the way, and there's only been 90 working days. So just to clarify for everyone, he's done 101 appointments in 90 days.
Yeah, I knew the number was over one a day, actually, but figured we'd stick with that. The other thing too is just proof is in the pudding thing, and I'm working on it. I started the year with literally one listing, and it's a friend of mine, so that doesn't really count. It just, it was just turned out that way. It was random. It's exactly what I never want to do. In my whole career, I've worked harder in the winter because I want to start the year. I love stats, right? So it's like I wanted to start the year just crushing it. Now we've been closing some good things, but for the listing count was low. But like by the end of this week, I'll be up to 12, I think, active and have some pending. So it's working, pretty well. Let's see. Another thing too on all this is I think that you really need to know, and Jeff has mentioned this, you really need to know your costs and your conversion rates. And in all lead generation, whether it's online lead generation or anything, you have to know what you're getting for your time and money. And I have a system that I use called CTE. There's Sisu. That is an amazing system. CTE I like because it does the similar thing, but it's more of a simple spreadsheets, and it's $25 a month, and it's kind of hard to not use it. But it tells me everything that I need to know about what we're doing. I can show you guys that if you want, but daily we put in our numbers, right? So let me see here. Are you still seeing the screen? Hello?
No, it turned off.
Okay,
let's get you back on there.
I'm gonna show you another screen.
Yeah, and CTE, just for folks who don't know, Calvin Mergen's a really great programmer, works at another company, but he built this out a number of years ago, and I agree, Scott, I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it does everything you ever wanted it to do. It's just a matter of, okay, there you go. You see that now?
Not yet.
No? Okay, well, I'll click on it. There?
Oh, we got it. Yep.
Okay. Anyways, this is something that you can see. This is from the first of the year. This keeps track of my appointments. It's pretty crazy. So it comes from around 4 hours a day. By the way, it's not all day. And this is showing how many appointments, how many listing appointments, all of it. And it's not a ton of calls, honestly. Like I said earlier, it's not like we're making 300 calls a day. I've done that in the past with help. But this is more like the 40 to 70 range. But it's calling, you can see this goes forever. It's, well, every weekday of the year so far until now. And I have it up to date. Like I don't have one for today yet, but I will. So this converts into this, which will show you, okay, we dialed 5,629 times, contacted 938 people. This nurture column is not correct. We just don't have it accurate is all. Listing appointments, all the rest of it. But, and it comes down here, like the hours, 403 hours, 403 hours so far put into that. And then how many texts and ringless voicemails, not a lot. But anyway, that's something that.
Hey, Scotty.
Yeah.
You brought this up, and it was partially to talk about, hey, you want to have your leads produce results, right? What does it actually cost per lead? What does it actually cost per listing in the end to get? And I think that's something that's really critical because a lot of people just aren't willing to spend money, or they spend money randomly, versus what you're saying is, hey, we need to have these dollars work for themselves. First, we need to be willing to spend money. Yes, it's funny, a lot of people have referral business and they think it doesn't cost them anything, but most people can't grow a large business just on referrals, especially fast, right? So, and even most people don't spend enough money on their past clients and the referral base if they actually spent more money there. So I think it's really critical that you're talking about that. Hey, let's keep track of them. Let's understand it, because we all take referrals, right? I mean, most people would take a referral for a 30% referral fee and they pay, so think about that. If your average deal is $10,000 in commission and you're willing to pay that's $3,000 per transaction, right? So are you spending that in your marketing? And understand that top agents in the country, they're spending 15 to 25% on marketing, period, to get their leads. And especially if they're growing their business beyond just, if they're just a small guy doing 15, 20 deals a year, they're not. But if you're trying to get to that 50 to 100, especially if you're trying to do it with with having a decent life, that you're not running like a dog, you're going to spend in marketing. So you need to start budgeting that in, looking ahead what that's going to be, and then hold those dollars accountable. Right, Scotty, like hold those dollars accountable to, and it's funny because, Scott and I have coached people, and Scott, how many times have you got to where somebody says, I'm going to quit doing something. Oh, this isn't working. And then we go back and look at their leads and they're like, okay, do you realize that's actually working better than your other things? But see, we have a tendency to be emotional and whatever the feel is, or, some people say, well, I'm going to quit Zillow, right? And I'm not a fan either way, but the idea is I'm spending $5,000 a month. Well, yeah, and you did 20 deals and 10 of them came from that. So let's look at the numbers. If you had, even though it's expensive, what would have you made if you hadn't have that? And what are you going to replace that? So we really need to add those analyticals as a business person into this process. And I like that's what you're doing, Scott. So I just want to point that out to people. Think about what you're doing. Think about how you're trading things out and what you're doing and where you need to add.
Well, and John is 100% right. It's like right now, I can tell you right now, like our buyer leads coming in raw, and this is only one little piece of the cost, because just for the Facebook cost, right? I'm doing them at like maybe $3 to $4, which is really good for buyer leads. That's something too, Will, on that subject, like to get these leads. And if you used this, like the street tech system, because it's a good system, it does a lot of stuff for you. It's really quick. It only takes a few minutes to make an ad instead of doing it yourself. And it really follows your cost per lead, your cost per click, how many people are viewing your listing, everything. I mean, it keeps track of everything. But so I'm getting them for like $3 or $4. But then like my math of say like what it's costing me, and this is all the hard costs like that I have on my CTE, of course, I know exactly what I'm paying every month to run my business and what ads are costing me. But it ends up being about $150 per lead to get those per appointment. Let's put it that way. And that's actually cheap. Now that's not per closing, because there'll be other things. So there's like different little steps of it, right? But like right now, just for my ISA costs, my ad fees, my Google account, or not Google account, my Facebook account, my street text, adding in all those costs to actually just get that lead to an appointment stage is $150. But that's a whole lot cheaper than a lot of ones you pay for out there. Let's put it that way. That's the reason I still do my own stuff. And I'm a big fan of what John's talking about. It's like, because so many people, like when I've coached companies or clients or whatever, the first question I ask them is, what's your best lead sources? And what I'm really meaning is, what are you getting the most bang for your buck? Gets the best results? And a lot of times what they think is their best lead source is not their best lead source as far as like financially. Because the reason is, if you have a certain budget, and that's the thing about this too, this isn't a no cost setup, right? It's just not. So right now that's tough for people to want to jump into. And it's not something that just happens overnight, but long-term it's incredible. And every bigger successful team runs it that way. They all do. But like I am all for pretty much all lead sources, but you're going to have a cost to them, like John said. And if you're like Zillow, it might be $400 or $500 a lead. And to me, like I I'd say I'm not a fan of Zillow for a couple reasons, just more inaccuracies or what people think about it, things like that. Not on the if you can make money with Zillow, because I have tons of teams, tons of friends that I've coached that they crush it with Zillow, and they do it right. Like they actually follow up. They do. There's methods to Zillow's process that you have to follow, and it will be successful. And it's an expensive thing to do on a monthly basis. But and I'll use Jake. I don't think Jake's on here, but when Jake started the Zillow program, because I was helping him do it, it was like he was almost wanting to cancel it at the beginning, and then he ended up being like getting 7 times ROI. So you put in 10,000, you make 70. It's like he's like, I'll pay 30 a month for Zillow at those numbers. And so that's kind of what all of this stuff is.
Hey, Scott.
Yeah.
By the way, I love this concept totally, because it's like holding your money accountable, and it's making your money go to work every day, which I think is awesome, right? A lot of agents spend money instead of investing money in their business. There's a humongous difference, and that's what John and Scott are talking about here. And I'm looking at the time, and I want to make 100% sure, because I know some folks want to see, like, what's the front edge of the funnel. I want to see some buyer and seller ads.
Because I pulled those up as you guys were.
All right, I want to see the front of the funnel, because like there's got to be that thing was like, what gets somebody to click on this and like get excited enough to be like, kind of excited to find out what my property might be worth.
Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yes.
That's an ad that happens to be in Bend, because I do some stuff up there. But that's a simple, if someone, like it says, if someone wanted to buy your Bend, Oregon home, would you sell it? Find out the current value. I'm sure you guys have seen these before. I have a custom little, the Delta Group salesOregon.com, my own website that it shows. And this ad took me all of 5 minutes to put together using the system I use. So it's worth it. Street Text is $200 a month, and it saves me a lot of money from doing my own ads like I used to do. And it just has it really dialed in, where it has a connection with Facebook, where it tells you all your numbers that you need to know. What I do with these ads, and I don't know if it'll let me,
Well, Scott, while you're looking for that, I do want to point out for everyone there that it's just such a high curiosity prompt. And I wanted to point out that he has some frowny faces. So don't get bummed out. Like, by the way, that happens all the time. If you're going to run ads, you got to get thick skin. This is not normal social media. People love to frown on ads and like take a poop. They'll put their little nasty gram comments. It's okay. That drives engagement. You're good. Just realize that a click is a click is a click. You're good.
Did that switch the house now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because I put a bunch of them up there. Yeah, you guys, and I'm, that used to bug the crap out of me, honestly, that you get people saying things. I'm apparently a scammer. Every once in a while, somebody will say I'm a scammer. I'm trying to buy their house. I'm like, no, I'm actually a local broker who have been doing it for 20 years, and we're trying to help people when they need help. I'll comment back in a nice way. But I could care less. It's like I might get 10 or 15 comments, and not all of them are like that, but it seems like the people who do comment have something to say that have nothing to do with it. But we get hundreds of great people that are needing help from these ads.
Scott, my coach used to say to me, he would say, if you're not getting any nasty comments, it's because nobody's seeing your ad yet.
Absolutely. Just like if you're not getting a lot. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it's just a fact, right? There's just no way. I mean, love to please everybody, but it's not a possibility. So I'll just put like a comment like that in there. So if anybody wants to read it, then it's like, say, oh, okay, they've been around forever. And here's I go to my, Google thing, and I have all 5-star reviews. So then see how that turns out for you. So this is just another simple house. Like if it's a new listing, then I'll put like this. It's in the East Medford area, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Click on, it's clickbait stuff, because it's click on this below to get the price. And then some people are not happy that I didn't put the price in there. But, it worked really, really well. And this is a kind of a newer one. Let me see if I can move this. Oh, there we go. Move that out of the way. This is another. Oh, no, it's not. No. That's a different house. Similar thing. This is an ad in Bend. This one looks worse than it does online. But this is the Medford local area. I tried something different because I wanted to have like some little dots where houses were. So I created something. or didn't really create something. I stole something from another site. And then this one is another slight variation for the Medford area. And let's see here. This was different. That, you know, the real estate market has shifted. What's your home value? How has your home value been impacted? And things like that. So, you know, we get a lot, and yeah, we get the comments, but some of them are good. Some of them will tell me they want to sell for $1 million. And the funny thing is, I've had people tell me, yeah, if you want to pay overpriced and pay me 600,000, and I look it up and it's like, yeah, I could probably sell for 7. You know, it's like you should really look into. You really need help. But anyways, these are actually current ads I have running right now. All of these. So I run quite a few of them. But what I'll do too is the thing. Let me see. Let's go here. Did you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay. That's actually the street text platform. These are ads that are running. And see, like right now, like this is crazy. I actually overestimated. Right now, my lead cost $1.57. I was sandbagging a little bit. $1.57 for a lead is unreal. Jeff, you know that. That's crazy.
100%. Yeah, it's awesome.
And this one, 127. This one isn't showing anything. Why not? I don't know. And you see how I have 3 of the same listing because I do split testing. So I will run 3 of the exact same ads when I put an ad out. The exact same time, exact same everything. They're identical. But the algorithms with Facebook will be very different on each ad you set up, and you'll get different results. And the reason I have all 3 of them running, and I rarely do, is because they're all really working and getting good results. Usually you wait until you have about 500, the reach is about 500. And like say this one is, you know, 4,500. But once you get about 500 people you know, activated towards the ad or have seen it, then you can kind of make a decision. And a lot of times then I would close and delete the other 2 ads and only keep the best performing one. Because if people don't do that, they're losing money because it does not always work. I have an ad that I ran for a seller lead, and it's up here. I'm not sure which one of these, but actually I don't have it anymore. It was one of those seller lead ones, and I was running it for like 1.5 years because it was just clicked into a groove that was unreal, and it got so much exposure, and it was really cheap and working really well. So
Hey, Scott, I got a couple questions if I can.
yeah.
One, somebody posted in the chat. Where do they go if they click on the Learn Now? Does it go to your website or does it go to the funnel? That's a question in the chat. And I was also curious, are you running like buyer and seller ads both at the same time, or are you focusing on something in particular? What do you got going? So again, probably first to the, where does it go if they click on the ad?
If they click on the ad, I most like all, well, you know what, I'm gonna show you really quick. Something else, and it'll answer that. This is all the ads available. You can create your own. You can pick one of those. There's all kinds. See the upside and downside, and there's all kinds of things they do for you, which is really nice. Like say if I go new listing, say I want to select this ad. This is actually how you create an ad. I'm just going to run through it really quick. I'll say East Medford bedrooms to description. Nice. Redirect to your website. See that right there? I can go Delta Group Oregon, or I can put in from the best thing is to go to your KV Core and get your link for that specific home, cut and paste it and put it right there. Because then that will take them to that ad on your site or to that home on your site. And then this privacy policy. And then pick from stock pictures. I'm just gonna, just for the purposes of showing you guys how this works. Targeting, you can pick it by like, you know, whoops, where we go? Right there. I just picked that area. I can exclude an audience if I want to. I don't want to. I'm done. And I go next. I do 8 because it's my daughter's number instead of 9. I'm weird. It's good luck. And then and then I split test it 3 times and I put it on Instagram and I hit deploy and I'm done. Like it's foolproof. Like you don't have to know anything about Facebook marketing to run these ads. Now you put a better description, and then, you want to keep it short and sweet, but that's it. Like, that's it. I was actually just running that. Like it literally takes 2 minutes. I was exaggerating when I said 5. So, get out of here.
That's awesome info, man. There's a lot of people that have never been on street text, me being one. I've heard you say it 90,000 times. But it's really interesting for those of us that really aren't in this portion of the business, and to be able to see something that probably we thought was daunting. It's like, I could never do that. I'd have to be a complete moron to not be able to do that.
Well, yeah, if you can't do this, you should
I won't be able to get out of my office.
Turn your license to the state.
So yeah, thanks for breaking that down.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's quick and easy, and you can run the split test. Okay, these are leads that came in today. Get a lot though, like I'll show you right here, like there's a lot of address onlys, and that honestly is where a lot of the money is in these also, because you got to do a little bit extra. You see all of these that have no blue highlight, that means we haven't got to these yet. That's how many we've got in the last week or so, and those are address onlys. So we have to go in and do a little bit more work at those. But see, then you can actually do a mailing campaign specifically to somebody who wanted a home evaluation request. You can do a drop by, give them stuff. You can go knock at their door. There's all kinds of more aggressive ways to get, like, I could be doing a lot of things a lot better still right now to get more listings easily. And those are a couple of them that I could be doing. Let's see here. Let me get to the thing. Yeah, and I kind of went over the address onlys and all the gathering information, the buyer leads, the time frame, all that kind of stuff. Some things I wanted to cover. The other things, I guess, are, well, I guess, if anybody has any questions or what they want to know, or like I said, I jump around a lot, so I know I skip a lot of things. I think that, like I talked about, the follow-up is one of the key things. This is just the Facebook ads. You can run Google ads that are similar. I'm not doing them right now, but anyway, any questions anybody has?
Yeah, I would ask you this, Scott. So the follow-up is something I drop the ball on a lot, right? Like trying to read, got to do that. We all know how important it is. So started doing follow-up again after the challenge that Jeff put out there. And the first day of doing the follow-up, I got a listing appointment. So it's like, everything you're saying, it's true, right? We just got to do it. So I have a question, because you're a numbers guy on this, on the nurturers that you have, because most buyers are 6 to 12 months out, sometimes 2 to 3 years. I'm a firm believer that if you treat them right, if we did our follow-up right, if I did it right, that I get referrals out of those clients even before they buy or sell. So do you have a number on that?
I don't have a number on that, but that's absolutely the truth. See, that's that whole concept going back to my mindset, is that I will get business out of everybody I put in my database, right? Like if I do it correctly, everybody I have in KV Core, at some point I should get a deal from, because they're in there for some reason, and in mine, they're in there because they asked a question or they wanted something. And, like those sellers, by the way, I do have them on HomeBot. So they get a monthly, this is something to be said, because I think HomeBot does some heavy lifting for me. And you guys know this that are using it. It gives a really nice evaluation report monthly. And the thing about it that's really cool is that my open rate is like 50% when that gets sent out. It's crazy. Now the open rate's 50, and then it actually, like, to see so they look at the email, and then the open rate to actually have them look at the report is also 50%. So it's like really 25, it goes down. But so like 25% of the people, and I have like 900 people, I think, on that, are looking at their every month, they're looking at their evaluation. So that's how important or that's how many people that are really interested in knowing what their home is worth on a monthly basis. And so that is huge. And that's a huge follow-up, because then you're getting 1 month. It's just like anything, everybody in your database should be on some type of a program, how many times you're connecting with them every year. Everybody does that. It's like used to be like 40 touches for this, or, there are a lot of most of those touches aren't phone calls. They're automation of things of value.
Well,
but
Scott,
I think it's
real quick, man, what I noticed as well, though, is that you happen, first off, I hope everyone's realizing how well Scott knows his numbers, right? Because that's why he's getting these results. It's not, you don't accident your way to success, right? We talked about this last week. You plan, prepare, understand, execute your way to success. That's part of being a lion. That's part of understanding what your business is and really running it as a business. And the reality is, first off, anything that's giving you a 50% open rate on effectively a dead communication platform, which email is getting close to, is ridiculous. On 900 people, that means he's getting 450 people that look at an email. Imagine really quickly if you could hand a flyer to 450 people and they actually read it. That's gnarly, right? Like that doesn't happen. And so to be able to pull that off, how often are you sending those out?
monthly.
Yeah, that's once a month.
It goes monthly automatic. I can show you guys that too. It really looks professional, and it's, what I do too is that it gives that's a really good thing to say too, because on the seller leads, they're asking for a home evaluation, right? I mean, that's why they clicked on it. That's what they want. So I give them the HomeBot one. I don't spend the time to do each of them because we do a lot of volume. I don't know, this might not be right, but sometimes I'll look at one and I go, I really need to do that one, or I don't think that'll be accurate, or I'll do it and send it. But I also follow up with them to say about them receiving the HomeBot. And I let them know that this is where, if we haven't set an appointment, this is our appointment setter conversation, right? Afterwards, because they get their HomeBot, they get what they asked for. We followed up and did what we were supposed to do. It may be accurate, maybe not accurate, that HomeBot evaluation, because it's using all online lead generation stuff. So I tell them, hey, this is going to be a somewhat accurate evaluation. If you'd like a more accurate evaluation, I'd love to come out, no cost, to come out and look at your place, and I'll give you what it would sell for now, or for whatever reason you want to have your evaluation or your evaluation done. And so then that's kind of more of just another way that I've already given them value, and then I'm going to try to get a live appointment. It's all about getting a live appointment. Even if my phone appointments, it's all about getting a live appointment. It's funny because I always say, like, I definitely am very techie and I like online, and I've used this my whole career, but I am 10 times, I am an in-person guy. That's what I do best. Like, Joe actually will tell you this, it's true. Like, if I have to write a whole paragraph, it could take me a day because I'm a perfectionist and I can't figure it out. I'm better off calling Joe and begging him to write it for me, which he has done actually. But I just can't get it out. And sometimes, anyways, so I like the appointments in person. I'm good at reading people and going the direction I think they want to go. Not always, I'll misread it sometimes. And that just goes back to, the personality tests and really knowing who the decision maker is, knowing those kinds of things. I definitely, this is kind of like digital door knocking. Actually, Street Text calls their little logo is digital door knocking. And that's kind of what it is. It's the best way to do it now in volume, right? And I can go out and door knock, get good results. This is digital door knocking. I can do 10,000 a day if I wanted to. So, but just like when I go to listing appointments, and that's always been my thing. I have a presentation and a online beautiful thing that I put together. It was like 20 pages. I did write it all out. And it was every little detailed part of the conversations, my marketing, every part of why I market was, I knew the numbers of what the percentages are nationally of where people go to find these deals. Like when deals close, where did they come from? How did they get there So I knew those things. And if I had questions that I knew that would come up that would be negative, I would have things happen in the beginning that would resolve those before those questions even came up. Another thing is that I would also ask them if there was anything about my marketing or anything else they want to know before we sign the papers. And if they say no, I'd start with that. They say no, we sit down and sign the paper, and I'm like, see you later, I'll get on the market tomorrow. And and not tell them about stuff they don't want to know, right? So anyway, that was just going a different direction. But part of that would be also, then you guys all know this, is I would really do the whole, walk me around your house, and I would be looking at everything and looking at books or pictures. Like, I'm into flying, so it's like I like that. So I had a guy that had helicopters on his wall. So I'm like, and do I even want to say it? Because if I say it, I'll be here for an extra hour about us talking. But I do, because then you like get this connection, and then it's a totally different appointment, right? Then he's already decided you're the coolest guy ever, and he's going to list with you. And who cares who comes next? But anyways, there's a whole lot to this. I know I'm probably jump around a lot, so I want to ask you guys what parts I skipped, what you want to know.
Hey, Scott, for the people that are trying to figure out, how to get a international VA, ISA like you're using and stuff like that.
Okay,
Where's somebody even go to get something like that started?
Well, this isn't a pitch, but I am starting a thing called the Leverage Pros that is going to offer that eventually. Because the guy that I use and found has ran, I can help with that, but there's a lot of different places you can go to get that. My advice would be, don't always take the cheapest one, because I pay extra for the guy I pay. He makes more than double what a normal VA would make, but I like my results.
And how much money is that? How much is
For
it?
me, I pay my guy around $2,000 a month, which is very cheap, obviously here, but that is very expensive as far as VAs go out of country. So I mean, you can get a VA for $4, John, when you're tightwad. No, it just depends on the quality of the process, right? Like the person that I have, he ran virtual assistant companies where he's at. He was the boss. Like, he is unbelievable. Like, he can get me appointments, right? He's good at it. He's personable. So that's the key part of it. So if you have somebody and they're not working out, quickly get rid of them, find a different one, find somebody new. It's all about that, but I think it's real worth it. Honestly, it's the first time in my entire career I did it. Was just the last 5 months. Hired somebody like a virtual VA that's out of the country.
Scott, how many hours per month are you doing? We saw Jason Giles ask that question.
With him?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Full time. I have him full time, 8 hours a day. But I have him, he's only making calls half that time. He's like 4 hours a day calls. And then 4 hours a day, clerical, help and things like that. But I also have him helping me work through my whole entire database, making sure everybody is where they're supposed to be, has market reports. I could show you, let's see here. Well, I know what he does every day. Like every single day, I get a report that shows me the appointments, the conversations, the calls that he made to who. It's a little bit more than most people probably would want, because it takes him a little time to put it together, but he's doing it as he goes. And then it'll show me how many people in the database and their names of who he helped fix to be corrected in the system. If there were buyers or there were sellers. Like, I mean, I'm a numbers guru. I like that. It's like, to me, and I can't remember who wrote the book, but the book Predictable Profitability is what this, to me, it's the key to this business, to being successful with it. So it's because if you don't keep track and you don't know all your numbers, then how are you going to improve on things that aren't working right? And that's like with my coaching business, that's what I've done to where I don't care. And Joe was part of this, and some of these guys are on our call now. We had a company that I was coaching they did $1 billion in business in 2021, I think. And they still had a lot of flaws and a lot of things that they need to fix. And every team or individual broker needs help in that category, I've found, always. So it helps to know the numbers, because it all comes down to that. Like, but to me, like on that, know the numbers, I'm paying way more. Like when I think when I told Jake I was paying $2,000 a month for virtual assistant, he might have laughed at me. But the results I'm getting are not laughable, right? So it's like, and it was to be seen when I did it, because I took a chance. I took a chance on believing that the guy could do what he thought he could do, and I did a lot of research trying to find this person. So, to answer the question, there's lots of VAs available. I could probably help you find one that would be good, because the guy that I use is very big in that industry and knows a lot of people, and we're actually going to be putting on some more people.
Well, Scott, really, really quickly, and I want to pitch this to everybody. Like, first off, reach out to Scott if you're interested. Obviously, he can help you get positioned with somebody who could help you. But also, one reason why Scott is great at doing this is because he's actually able to do the front of funnel work. Right. It's really, really hard to manage the activities, behavior, success, et cetera, of somebody else. If you're like, I don't know my numbers, I've never made a phone call, I don't do anything, I hope I can just hire somebody and then I'll have a multi-million-dollar business. That's putting the cart before the horse and then getting run over by it. All you're going to do is be paying somebody that you're not holding accountable, and nothing's going to happen in your business. So on some level, it needs to be a both and, right? I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, Scott, but I think people need to be able to do some of this work to at least know what the expectations are. What are the scripts? How do I hold someone accountable? And what does success even look like?
I agree 100%. I mean, to me, I do make tons of calls myself, not as many as I should. It's something that, and this is something that I actually wanted to say. Some people are really good at making phone calls and some people don't mind doing it. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I'm really freaking good at it though. Like, that's just the fact. Like, in my career, and I'll say that, I'll give myself that much credit because of the results I've got with it. I can put deals together. I can close deals. I can get listings. The most deals I ever did in a year by myself, on the pending side by myself in my company, was 112. And that was with, the people in the company and our team doing their own things. So, and the listing, I carried over 100 listings at a time for several years. And that was in a market that actually worked out. It wasn't just like this market, but it was because I wanted to dominate the listing. It helped grow our company. Everybody knew who we were because of the signs everywhere. And then my whole strategy was, it's funny because I was a listing guru, but my strategy was not just listings. It was really to get the 2 buyers that I thought we could close off each listing. So yeah, it was that, and it was brand awareness. It's just like, you get to be the number one in the area because everybody can't go anywhere without seeing your listing signs.
To add on to what you were saying there, Jeff, and to add on to what Scott's saying, and to add on to what Jeff said last week, guys. So, one of the things, maybe if you were on the call last week, you're like, well, I don't know who to call. Jeff said to call these people. Where do I find the numbers? How do I do this? And that can be like stymie, like, where do you go? What this really shows you is, okay, this is another source that you never have an excuse for not having people to call. Scott he may not call in a day, but it's not a matter of he doesn't have 100 that he should be calling, right? So he has more of the problem of like, oh crap, I didn't do what I was supposed to do today, versus I'm wondering who I should be calling. And so that's one of the things. When I built my business in Southern Oregon and started over again, I did much what Scott was doing. I paid for a lot of leads. So I knew there was no question I had 3 hours worth of people to call every day. And, there's something, you'll see a video I'll put out, and Bill Pipes is one of the top coaches in the country. And I just did a video stole some of his stuff and did a video on it, guys, but it's the 3x5x5. The idea is if you call, and he says, the agents that call less than an hour a day make about 50 grand a year in real estate. The agents that are outbound an hour to 2 hours a day are going to be somewhere in that 100 to 150. The agents that are doing 3 hours a day, 4 days a week, are over 250. Now, you can delegate some of that and outsource that, but the reality is you have to be making those calls. So what Scott's showing us is, hey, this is not that hard to get these inbound calls. Now, if you have no money, yeah, you're going to have to circle dial, right? And that's pretty simple too. Scott's done that for years. He's bought the lead, and all you've got to do is go to, what is it? What's the source, Jeff? Who do you buy those?
You could go to mojosells.com.
Yeah, you just go to Mojo.
Land Voice.
You go to Mojo, and then you can spend $50 or $100 a month, and they'll give you all these, and you're circle dialing. So that's the place until you get some money, that's an easy way to go. But what Scott's talking about here is these leads are not expensive. But the key really is all leads, and I just to summarize some of the things you said, Scott, is that, and I've heard him say this a million times, is, everybody wants to say leads are crappy. These are crappy leads. Well, there's really no crappy leads. And what we found is most people, when I used to sell leads to agents, what they would say is, they'd close 2 deals right away in the first month. They got lucky. And then they'd have none for like 90 days, but they weren't following up. They'd say these leads are crap. And I'm like, yeah, because you're not calling. You're not following up. You're not doing the work. So what Scott's showing us here is it's a systematic way. It's work. He's delegated a lot now of it, but I remember when he was doing it and making those calls, and a lot of us need to be there. But it's just a process, guys. And as Joe said, it's not that complicated. It's not simple, but simple, how would I say it? You just got to do the pieces. Running the little ads through KV Core is not hard, is it, Scotty?
And that's the thing too, I was going to mention.
Then are you going to do the follow-up? Are you going to make the call? Are you going to be disciplined? And that's what it comes down to, as Scott's saying, is, luck now he's outsourced, so he's got somebody that he can force to be disciplined. But what are you going to do to make it happen?
Yeah, and I'm a good example of it, you guys. I mean, I've been in this business a long time, and I probably spent 10 years of my career when I owned my company going crazy, working 16 hours a day, and we were #1 in the area, listing all that good stuff. And it's great. I have potential to do that now. I don't, by obvious choice, I guess. I'm not sure that I don't want to. I just can't find the motivation to do it or the discipline. But I am very disciplined, actually. But I know that I will not consistently make the calls I need to make anymore, because I just have a lot of other things going on, a lot of other things I enjoy. And so I have outsourced it. And now my plan right now is to rebuild a team again, but I wanted to have a very, very good resource to keep them really, really busy and have it really set up and good. And that's what I've done. I've got, 5 months of it now again. So I'm kind of starting to do that. But I think, being very, and you guys all have heard this a million times, but being, like I'd mentioned about, I hate making the phone calls. And it's funny because I think I just hate to start making the phone calls, because like once I get it going and I talk to a couple of people, then it kind of gets more fun. It's just the thought of starting them. But you can always, like John mentioned, there are an unlimited amount of leads. I could bring in 1,000 leads a day if I spent the money. It's like, that's not the problem. I've never had a shortage of leads. It's a shortage of follow-up, a shortage of content, touching base. There's so much more to this too. Like the video section part of it that we're talking about, I'm not doing that. I've never have. I need to be. Like, I need to have my emails be a video, like a BombBomb video, all kinds of different things you can do with street text to increase that volume. Something that really woke me up to this, and I've done it, I've made the same mistake about 3 times. So I'm not sure if I'll ever learn it, but I've had teams and had people in the right positions to where I'm handing out leads, giving leads, and I've kind of corrected that now. But to where, somebody left the team, they weren't happy because the leads sucked, right? And all this stuff. And then I go back personally and I have all their leads that I had given to them in our system. Then I go back and start making phone calls and checking up on them. And seriously, about in tears every day doing it, because I did it for a week with one person that was with me for about a year. And almost daily when I did it, I found somebody that, oh, thanks for following up. You know what? We sold last month. I can't even tell you. So I'd write it down. And I mean, it was depressing. All those bad leads that I gave that person, how many of them had closed and was thanking me for helping them. But they went with somebody else because we stopped following up, and they didn't even realize it. They were just so glad that I helped them out in the process in the first part. And it's like, I've done that so many times, I can't even tell you, And so then that was part of it was my mistake. I blew it because I wasn't following up enough, keeping a track enough. I wasn't monitoring it enough and having them pulled and given to somebody else that would follow up. But I bet you I've seriously lost $1 million, and that's not even an exaggeration at all from that. So I have a whole career of what could have been even better, and I've never had I just didn't know what to do, or I just didn't know where I could get a lead. I don't care what market. And by the way, I think you know this, that I started my company that grew to be that company I'm talking about, where we were number one in Southern Oregon and listing volume and per agent and all that stuff, in the worst market in the history of the world. I left Remax in 2007 and opened up my own company. And everybody's like, you're nuts. I'm like, yeah, probably, but I think everybody's going to be really needing help and really looking for something different, and they're going to be blaming where they're at. So they're going to be leaving like crazy. That actually goes, this whole system, by the way, for the people who are in EXP, for the people that aren't, I apologize, or it's a recruiting thing. This is the same concept in that category. And right now we're kind of in that same time frame when people are looking for something better and moving. And, I've always led, and with that, my recruiting style is this style. This is what I do. I go help people, and I don't talk to them about it. I've brought on a lot of people that I've coached in the past. I never once started the conversation about EXP. They knew where I was. That was it. Though they eventually asked. And then I said, are you sure? I would actually even apologize. Are you sure you want to get into this? And then
I love it.
We would.
Hey, anyway, Scott, real quick, because I know we're getting skinny on time. Jason Giles has a question, and then we're going to wrap. But this is so freaking killer. Hey, Jason.
I was just going to throw this in there because I couldn't agree more with there's no bad lead, right? I think what it really comes down to is the mindset, and this is powerful, Scott, because you're proving to us that it works. So I used to always tell people on the team, off the team, whether it's Zillow, realtor.com, wherever your platform is, these leads are all pretty much applying on all of those, right? It's how we're handling them, So, I want to say thank you, man. This is awesome because it just reiterates how important it is for us to do this, and then, to throw this out there, I'll call people who've hung up on me 3 weeks later because chances are they don't remember that they hung up on me. We've turned those into deals. So, if we just switch our mindset of, these leads are great leads and they're applying probably more than just our site. It's who's going to follow up. It's who's going to be there. It's who's going to give them value that they're going to work with. So, and on top of that, you're going to get those referrals from them while you're helping them down the road. So thanks a lot, Scott, man. I appreciate it. Super powerful, brother.
You bet. Thank you. Something else that I just thought of, and I think this is one of the most powerful things that I remembered, was that those leads that you think aren't good now and you don't follow up on, all those ones are somebody's closings next year. And that's what happens. It's like those leads are at the beginning of the funnel. They're not through the process yet. Then they move along through the top process. You're not staying up on them, but then next year they actually do something, or the year after that, they actually do something.
Totally.
I've again seen that so much. So it's like those, if you choose not to go through that long process and are just looking for the now leads, then you've lost the deal for next year.
You're getting like, I believe, by the way, that most agents leave about 90% of the business that they could be doing on the table simply because they're not following up. In other words, you could close, if you closed 10 deals last year, if you followed up like your life depended on it, like a maniac for the next 12 months, you'd close 100. Like it's literally that big of a multiplier because there's just so much breakage happening in your business. Breakage, right, is like you own a grocery store, you're bringing pickles in, right? And you drop a jar of pickles. The problem is if you have 100 jars of pickles and you drop 90 of them, you're not running a great business. But imagine if those jars of pickles are leads.
There's another really top producing guy on the East Coast. I won't mention who it is, but anyways, owns several companies, and he actually goes around and buys up people's bad leads that they tell him they have. It's like, I have all these bad leads. He's like, great, I'll give you 50 cents for every lead. He buys them, puts them into his system, and closes millions of deals, millions of dollars worth of deals. It's a fact.
Love
he
it.
is unbelievable at it. And, he has a really fine-tuned system. It doesn't happen overnight, but with time and consistency is the key, and the discipline's part of it. But,
okay. Well, listen, I want to keep us on time, Scott, and I'm going to actually give out your information. Do this. Actually, if you would put it in the chat, I'm going to put it under where I know we're going to post this online as well so people can reach out to you. And I'll say, if you're watching this after the fact, you want to reach out, have a conversation with Scott. That's awesome. If you were here today live and you're a guest, please reach out to the person who invited you today to talk to them about the community, about eXp Realty, about your business, and why so many top agents are making the empowered decision to change their future based on aligning with the a company that's as dynamic as this one and gives as much opportunity away as this company does. It is changing lives. It's not some crazy sales pitch, guys. You have to be open-minded enough though, and that is what top business owners do, is they stay open-minded to top opportunities. Scott, you are a baller. I learned a ton today. I took like 15 pages of notes. This is crazy. So I really appreciate it. And anybody who's willing to show their playbook the way that Scott did is confident in the marketplace. That's what a true professional, what a real coach looks like. And I have to just say, we're surrounded with so many top level leaders here inside the community. Thank you guys for being here. We're going to be here, same bat channel, same bat time next week. And I really appreciate you guys. All right, take care. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.